Hello and welcome to another year of Straight Out the Jungle. No more Vince and JoJo. They were incredible last year. A couple new faces this year, so we'll let you get to know us a little bit first. I'm Rett Krome. I'm a senior at Auburn. Let me preface, we're both very good friends with Vince and JoJo. They did an awesome job. We are very thankful to them and to Jeff and everybody at Field of 68 for giving us this platform. And we're going to hop in with a preseason thing. This is Gehrig over here. I'll let him introduce himself.
As Rett said, I'm Gehrig. I'm a junior. I'm from Niceville, Florida, so excited to be getting to talk some hoops on this channel, Rett.
Yeah, we're huge Auburn basketball fans, as you can probably expect, as a lot of people on campus are. I think got a lot to be excited about this year. We had the preseason exhibition against Oklahoma State a couple of weeks ago that Gehrig got to be at. But first, I want to start with, this is going to be a really new-look team, Gehrig. I mean, you've really got one guy that's a returner that played significant minutes, and it's Tahad Pettiford, and everybody knows about Tahad. But you've got not only a new head coach with Bruce Pearl retiring, you've got a whole new group of players. So we want to hop into that. First, let's start with Stephen Pearl. The system at Auburn is not going to look very much different this year.
No, it really won't. And we heard from Coach Pearl it feels weird saying Coach Pearl still, but it's still Coach Pearl. I guess we'll call him SP instead of BP. But hearing from him in the press conference, it's his style. It's an Auburn team that's going to run. They like to play quickly, play in transition. And he talked about this year, one of the biggest challenges for them is going to be playing solid defensively. So that's kind of the number one key in point as we get ready for the season to begin. We're one exhibition game in, one left to go. That's what the team's really been working on.
Yeah, similar to Bruce Pearl's style, going to remain a very defense-first style. But SP said they're a little behind where they want to be defensively coming in. It's a different group of guys, not near as big as last year, or honestly the last 4 years. You think about the center duos of Janai Broome and Dylan Cardwell, and then before that, Walker Kessler and Dylan Cardwell on a team that also had Jabari Smith. I mean, you're used to a lot of size, and now feels like we're going back to some of the earlier Bruce Pearl, that first Final Four team in 2019 that was small. This team isn't small. They're just not as big as we're used to. So we're going to see a lot of free play on offense, and so let's hop into some of those guys that are going to be new faces that are going to get a lot of the ball. We know about Tahad Pettiford, everything he can do. Seems like he's being selected to every preseason watch list. Let's start with kind of the go-to guy that's gonna do the most scoring other than him. Played excellent in the Oklahoma State game. Gehrig, what do you got on Keyshawn Hall?
Yeah, Keyshawn Hall is a transfer that's going to be, in my opinion, the biggest impact transfer to this Auburn team. As I saw against Oklahoma State in Boutwell, he can turn it on in an instant, and he can go get a bucket whenever he needs to. Shot 7 of 14 from the field, 2 of 3 from deep in that one. Finished with a team-high 26. And, yeah, Rhett, it was when Auburn needed a bucket, he got it, and it looked effortless. We know how well he could score the ball at UCF, and now he's going to continue to I think, score the ball well for the Tigers as well.
Yeah, and a dude that is – he's not small. Where you're missing some of that size is down low. Keyshawn Hall, 6'7". He's 240 pounds, put on a lot of weight in the offseason. At least, I don't know if he did in terms of what he weighed at UCF, but he looks bigger than he did a year ago. Super athlete in Keyshawn Hall. Now, another big, important Keyshawn joining the team, Keyshawn Murphy. We saw him struggle a little bit with an injury against Oklahoma State. Just stretched kind of weird, got fallen on. Great last year at Mississippi State. Keyshawn Murphy is going to be the guy down low for this team. Not as big as some of the guys in the past, but he can get it done. Last season at Mississippi State, he averaged 12 points and 7.5 rebounds. Rebounding is going to be different, and that's, I think, a point of emphasis that we saw against Oklahoma State.
Yeah, exactly. I think in the first half especially, the Tigers struggled to really dominate the boards like we saw him do last year. And last year, obviously, with Janai Broome and Dylan Cardwell, two of the best rebounders in the sport. And so then you bring in guys like Keyshawn Murphy who have huge shoes to fill. And like you said, struggled with injury a little bit toward the end of that Oklahoma State game. Luckily, I don't think that's going to keep him sidelined for any extended period of time. And so I think Auburn's success in part depends on how well Keyshawn Hall, Murphy, sorry. That's gonna slip me up a couple times.
Really tough.
How much Keyshawn Murphy is going to be able to dictate the game on the boards, because he is Auburn's go-to big man in this offense, right?
Yeah. So another guy alongside those two, we're talking about Keyshawn Hall, similar play style, and it's a guy that Auburn fans have been excited about for a while. Abdul Bashir coming in from the junior college ranks. Last season, he averaged 27, 4, and 4. He can score with the best of them. Didn't feel like we saw the full extent of his game in that Oklahoma State game, but you know that you've got guys all over this team that can go get you a bucket.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's really hard to judge, I think, the team's playoff and exhibition when they were, 3 or 4 weeks removed from naming a new head coach to your program. And I kind of want to highlight that just for a little bit. Auburn, I think, did not look anywhere near a team that had just made a new head coaching hire 3 weeks before. Sure, there was some rust. I think that there were obviously the defensive troubles that they are admittedly working on. The shots weren't falling initially, but once the team got going offensively, they seemed to just be clicking and clicking and clicking, especially towards the end of that second half and OT. It's like you said, guys all around can get you a bucket, and it wasn't necessarily the case for Abdul against Oklahoma State, but it 100% will be as the season progresses.
And the feeling from me in that game, too, is that we know this is an Auburn team that is not going to run a whole lot of sets on offense. They like to be free. That's why they like to go out and get guys that can get buckets. It felt like they didn't run a single set against Oklahoma State. It felt like they came in and were like, look, we're a team of a bunch of new guys. Let's see what we can do. I don't know if you felt that way. You were there. I got to just watch on YouTube, but it felt like that was kind of part of it for me. And we got to see a couple of other new guys as we try to highlight all of these newcomers. Kevin Overton from Texas Tech. Last season, he averaged 8 and 4 for the Red Raiders. I think he is going to be a big impact guy for this team as well.
I agree 100%. Kevin Overton, he is a grown man, and he is just a presence, I think, on both the defensive and offensive ends for his size. And what stood out to me was his ability from the free throw line. This is a game where Auburn struggled mightily from the free throw line. Shot just 71%, but he was 8 of 8 and made a big bucket down the stretch in regulation to help send that one to OT. Or maybe it was OT to keep it tied, but regardless, he made a big bucket down the stretch that tied the game. Kevin Overton, I feel like, is one of those guys that gets lost in the fold of all these transfers, and he's one to keep an eye out on for sure. There's so many good transfers that Auburn brought in, and they had to because there was only one returner.
Yeah, this team is way different, and I think we're gonna get to see that. 2 more impact transfers before we get into some of the freshmen of a pretty good recruiting class. Emeka Oporum coming from I'm blanking. Coming from the JUCO ranks as well, though. 9 points, 8 rebounds, and the big thing for Oporum, 3 blocks last year. He will give you some size, not kind of the mass that you've had from Cardwell or Kessler or Broom, but he's 7'1", got a lot of length. I really like Emeka Oporum down low. And then finally, Elijah Freeman, who is coming from Lincoln Memorial. He averaged 19 and 9 last year. That's 19 points, 9 rebounds last year. Auburn seems to have a lot of guys that are coming in and can get you some rebounds, which might make up for the lack of size that we're going to see.
Yeah, exactly. Guys who just have insane athletic ability, and Elijah Freeman certainly one of them. He seemed like he was jumping out the gym in Boutwell and in Birmingham, and he was just incredibly impressive. 16 points from Elijah Freeman. Hit a triple, I think, late in the game. That kind of brought Auburn close. The whole game, Auburn was playing from behind. And the game was interesting, too, because Auburn, I thought, did a good job rotating everyone who we wanted to see. Everyone was getting equal minutes. And then on the other side, Oklahoma State was playing like 6 guys. And so it was clear that they were trying to go win the game. Yeah. And Coach Pearl, he's trying to see who he has, and rightfully so, in an exhibition game. But Elijah Freeman absolutely made the most of his minutes. Plus 12 here on the chart. I know we disagree about the plus minus statistic, and that's a concept for another time. But what I'm trying to say is made the most of his minutes.
Yeah,
for sure.
He had a great game. A guy who was a little bit slow, but I think Auburn fans are really, really excited about. And we got a funny quote from him the other day about insomnia cookies. The newcomer, not just to the university, but to the United States, Filip Jovic, coming over from, and I'm going to have to really get in here on this, coming from Bosnia. I'm not even going to try it on the hometown, but averaged 12 points and 4 rebounds in the Admiral Bell ABA League. So doing my best over here to read. I can't see, by the way, guys. Awful eyesight. Fun thing that you'll see through the year as you watch the podcast is there will be a lot of squinting from this guy. But Filip Jovic loves insomnia cookies. Shout out to Keyshawn Murphy for setting him up with that. Says that Auburn's team nutritionist doesn't love that, but
who doesn't love a good old insomnia? In fact, I made an insomnia cookie run last night. So Me and Philip, we're one and the same in that sense. He's a much better hooper than I am, but yeah.
But I think Auburn is excited to get a guy like that. That's really haven't done much in foreign recruiting. I mean, I guess a few years ago you got Yohan Traore, and then that didn't really turn out. This is the first. There's a style of play down there in the Balkans that we haven't gotten a lot of at Auburn that seems to really be showing up in college basketball and especially in the NBA. So I think Jovic is a guy to keep your eye on as we go through the year.
Yeah, absolutely. And you look at Jovic, he's not only adjusting to a new team and a new system, but a whole new country. And I think it's once he has time to develop and learn things. Like if he's just now learning about Insomnia Cookie, imagine how many more things he could be learning about in the near future. So I really like his development, and I think his growth will just be exponential. It'll skyrocket as the season goes on.
Finally, let's get into the freshmen. Two really big stars, and then a couple of guys that Auburn really likes and thinks can be support pieces. So Sebastian William Adams and Caden Magwood were the centerpieces of this recruiting class. Very excited about them. Simon Walker from Huntsville. I'm a Huntsville guy. I watched Simon Walker when he was a freshman at James Clemens before he transferred to Huntsville High School, torch my high school when I was a senior. That is a dude who has looked like he is ready for college basketball as long as he's been in high school. And then Jeremiah Bowman. Those two guys might not get a whole lot this year, but I think Auburn's really excited about them. This year, though, SWA and Caden Magwood, the guys for Auburn.
Yeah, Sebastian Williams-Adams, he stood out. He passed the eye test for me in Birmingham. If I had to pick a player who I think affected the game most outside of statistics, it was Sebastian Williams-Adams. Just running up and down the floor, seemed to be everywhere. Really grabbed a couple big boards, had 6 points as well. So I think he's a freshman who could see more minutes in important times just because of the way he plays the game for Auburn. He has that hustle to him, and I think that's the kind of player that Stephen Pearl is looking for here.
So 30,000-foot view of a new look roster with a new head coach. Coaching staff essentially the same. Mike Burgomaster is still going to be your offensive coordinator. You've still got Ira Bowman and a whole bunch of those other same minds on that bench, just under new leadership. And I think Auburn fans, I feel like personally, at least if I can speak for myself, felt like Stephen Pearl was inevitable. Felt like whenever Bruce decided to hang it up, that SP was going to be the option, and I'm really excited to see how this works out.
Yeah, it really did. And one of our good friends, Carson Horn, he wrote a piece, I want to say 2 years ago now. It was a column that said Auburn should name Stephen Pearl head coach in waiting, and here we are, and that's basically what happened. It felt as though the Auburn family was kind of in agreement that this would be the next step that the team should take, and it has become the next step. And I think it's just a great hire. You keep the system the same, and I think in other circumstances, you make a head coaching change this late into the preseason preparation, and your roster kind of falls apart. Mm-hmm. Auburn does not lose a single player to the transfer portal after this head coaching hire, and I think that right there is kind of a testament of how the Pearl family has run this team in years past.
Yeah, very excited to get into the season. One more exhibition, Auburn and Memphis tonight in Atlanta, and then the regular season starts on Monday against Bethune-Cookman back in Neville Arena. I can't wait for basketball to be back on the Plains.
Yeah, it's honestly the best time of the year, Rett. I think it's the team that the students and the fans, they rally around the most. I think they love their Auburn basketball. It's a very tight-knit. I mean, Neville's got 9,000, but when it's bumping, it sounds like 19,000. So just super excited to get back into the season and watch some Auburn hoops.
Yeah, and I can't wait to get back to y'all after that Bethune-Cookman game. That game is on Monday. We will have a recap of that game and I guess more of a season preview afterwards, hopefully coming out Tuesday. That is it for this first episode of Season 2 of Straight Out the Jungle from the Field of 68. For Gehrig, Gesch,